Hello, people. Welcome back. This is my second try at this video, so hopefully we can get through it this time. I had to redo it because too many things flashing in my glasses, so just bear with me. The last videos that you saw were from my 4 parts about my adoption. And that's then, and this is now, and we're past that. And that was a long time ago. And I intend to do more of these type of videos on a regular basis. But right now, today is New Year's Eve. And 2024 is ending. So what I'd like to do is go over some of the highlights and lowlights of this year. I'm going to start by saying that it's been a tough one. It's had some really great things, great moments, and some really hard ones. I started out the year involved in a online relationship of sorts. Relationship with a man from a gaming group that I belong to. I really wanted to meet. We both had or have some disabilities that could definitely hamper any kind of relationship with anyone. And I had just ended 20 years of a relationship. Actually, the gentleman still lives with me, but we are not together. When I met this man, he might have even been one of the reasons why I did, but it was already well underway. January of this year, after months and months of talking, very candidly, because I am a very candid person, I don't have a problem talking about just about anything. The decision was made I was going to meet him, and I was going to spend some time with him. And we had discussed, because of our disabilities, what sex in the future would be like, and working around it and finding ways to make it work. And that was probably the main goal of going for him and me. It was top. It was a top priority. So I got my ticket and I was off on an Amtrak to meet this man that I'd been talking to for months, and that I was definitely falling in love with. No, I wasn't falling in love. I had fallen. Many people say you can't fall in love with someone you've never seen face to face. You can't be in love with someone you've never met face to face. And you definitely can't have a relationship with someone you've never met face to face. And some of that I'll agree with. Some of it I'll agree with now because I've learned. But I was. And neither one of us had been physical with another person in quite some time. Or at least that's what I was told and believed. Because I do believe people until they give me a reason not to. Or I did. Now I've kind of swapped that. I don't believe you until you give me a reason to. New memo for 2025. So I went to meet him. I got there on February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day. And we had an amazing time that first day. We went to another state and we had some amazing food at this really renowned restaurant, and we just had a good time. We had talked so much online, it felt like I knew him, or at least I thought it did. And we laughed and joked, and it was fun. And the next day we were sick. Oh my Lord, we were sick. That for sure we had COVID. I think I took a COVID test. I'm not exactly sure if I took a COVID test. Everything is kind of a blur for that first week I was there. And I was there for 3 weeks. But that first week we were both so sick. Most of what we did was sleep, try to watch TV, which usually meant sleeping more, and eat, and even that was not all the time, and try to breathe. Cough, try to breathe. Oh my goodness, so much medicine. We took all kinds of medicine. I got a prescription called in from my doctor. We were really, really sick. Second week went a little bit better. I started getting better. He didn't take an antibiotic, so it took him a little bit longer. But overall, we had a really good time while I was there. Yes, we had a physical relationship. Yes, we found ways to make it work. We also found out there were ways it didn't work, because we both have medical issues. While there, he had a dog, and it was a big dog. And the dog would constantly be chewing your hands or jumping on you, or she was a pup, and she was the only woman in his life, and she really didn't care for me being there. But before I left, we were fast friends, the dog and I. But I bore the scratches up and down my arms and marks on my hands from her mouthing them. She never bit hard. Maybe a little bit hard, only because she was a puppy. But I had marks all over. She did not want me to be close to him. But, that's how it is with dogs. After 3 weeks of being there, it was time to go. He was ready for me to go. I would have stayed forever if I could have, but that wasn't the plan. And I scheduled my ticket to get home, and it's a midnight pickup or a late night pickup. It was. I'm not exactly sure. Early morning pickup. And the train station was like 30 minutes away. So when I got there the first time, because he has had problems with driving due to one of the illnesses, I took a Lyft. to his house. And I scheduled a Lyft to take me to the train when I was leaving. Because I never wanted him to do anything that would put him at harm, ever. First night, no Lyft. And I had to cancel my trip and rebook it for the next night. Made sure that I had planned and scheduled my Lyft far in advance. I mean, within reason for the next day. And once again, they didn't show. Well, on the second night, after 3 weeks of me being there, he said, "No, you're going. I'm taking you. Get your stuff together." I don't know whether he thought I was making it up, but he was right there when I was calling frantically, trying to get these rides, or he was just ready for me to go. We'll talk more about that later. How did I get this far into it? Okay, let's go back to the dog. Now, let's leave the dog for now. So we ate a lot of amazing food. We had a lot of fun. We tried out all kinds of ways of doing things. We played games. We had a great time. I did. And he appeared to. Back to the train, that second night, he said he was taking me. So we got dressed. I was so worried about him because he has problems with driving and falling asleep. So we went early. We went and had breakfast, made sure we were both wide awake. He was wide awake. For the trip home, we had to stop a couple of times on the way. It was really a major concern, and I was so worried about him. When I got to my next stop, which was going to visit another person from this game group, a woman who had become a very good friend, and I thought we had really established a very good friendship. While I was on the trip, though, he called me and let me know when he got home, so I didn't have to worry about him. So I got to her house. We had some laughs and we had some fun. And a couple days in, I wrote him a message online. Told him how I felt. Told him that, I wanted more with him. And received a message back that he wasn't interested. Wanted to remain friends, but wasn't interested in anything more. I was crushed because I was in love with him. And I thought that we had had such an amazing time. I just couldn't imagine what had happened. I've got to finish this story before I can go on to the other one, so let's go there now. The dog. He used to take the dog to the dog park pretty much every day. And I went with him. Twice, I believe. I don't think it was 3 times, but it was definitely twice. Might have been 3 times. I'm not sure. The last time we went, whether it was the second or third time, we were standing out in the parking lot talking to some other men that he knew there that also went there frequently. I never knew that men went to dog parks to pick up women, but obviously they do. And this woman started walking down the road towards us. And he looked and he's doing this, really looking. He looked like he recognized her. I figured it was somebody from the dog park, somebody else. Didn't really think anything of it. We walked over and sat down at the picnic table. And then when she got all the way down there, she came in where we were and walked past us and sat down on a bench just beyond us, a little bit beyond us. And I remember looking at her hair. When she walked past us, she walked right past us. I looked right at her. She had this beautiful, long, strawberry blonde hair, a color that I had always wanted, a color that I had always tried for, but never came out quite right. So I was definitely admiring her hair. And his dog kept going over where she was. And I'm trying to remember if she had a dog there or she just had a book like she was coming in to read. I don't remember. But his dog kept going over and bothering her. But very friendly. Dog just kept going up to her like she knew her. I didn't think anything of it. He said to me, he says, I'm going to go over there and get the dog. I said, sure. Oh, he said, you don't mind. That's what it was. Because I remember the words exactly. You don't mind if I go over there and get the dog. I said, no, not at all. Go ahead. I trust people until they give me a reason not to. I did. Kind of switched that up. But, so he went over. She turned her back to me and sat with her back to the bench, the arm of the bench. So her back was to me, and he was sitting on what I thought was the other end of the bench. Could have been. I probably was, because I was there. And again, I looked at her hair and I was thinking, God, her hair is so pretty. And then he came back. He was there for, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. He came back to the table. Shortly after that, we got up to leave, and she got up to leave. And we all walked out of the fenced-in area together. And of course, he held the gate for all of us, which didn't surprise me because he was quite a gentleman. He opened the car doors for me, and he was a gentleman while I was there. In that way. Now, it's not to say we didn't have fun, because we did. A lot of fun. Back to me being crushed. I was heartbroken. And I'm not a very good person at hiding my feelings. Like if something's bothering me, it's all over my face. If I'm happy, it's all over my face. So I'm at this other woman's house who I haven't known that long, but I've known her long enough. And we've talked each other's ear off outside of the game. And I'm just pouring my soul out to her. I didn't talk to him for a few days after that. And then we talked, and I thought things were at least back on a friendship level. Not with any promises of future at all. But I talked to him every day for months and months, and I missed the friendship level as well. And, if I'm quite honest, of course I was hoping. Of course I was. Who doesn't when you're in love with someone? So after a couple weeks at this other person's house, I get on the train to go home. Um, I fell into this deep depression. And I tried to navigate my way through the days, keeping myself busy, super busy with the game stuff, because I am a host on this game. And when I wasn't hosting, I was sleeping. Had a couple health scares. It was just a broken heart. And when I got home, after too short of a period of time, well, he had told me after the initial blow, what a word to use in this case, anyhow, that he had told me that this woman from work was going to take him to his doctor's appointment because he can't drive very well. And then he told me that he was going to take her out to dinner for it. And then dinner turned into a date. First it was just dinner. Then he told me it was a date. Or I asked him if it was a date. I don't remember which. I just remember the next words that he said, which were, "Would it have been better if I lied to you?" It was an honesty pact we had. I had with myself, essentially. So a couple weeks or months, maybe a month or two later, this person shows up on the game site. And there's a picture of her. She's the woman from the dog park. Makes perfect sense why the dog would be so attracted to her. She already knew her. Now, they have both denied this completely. Well, actually, he's never denied it. She denies it for him. I don't think he's allowed to talk to me. I think she keeps him on a pretty tight leash, but hey, that's for them to figure out. He's never actually denied it to me. Some angry words were said, some angry things were said. I said some really hurtful things to him too, because I was hurt. And I was just lashing out any way possible. I felt very used and taken advantage of. But I agreed to it too. So, you know, it is what it is. During this time, I was hosting, and several times I cried online. And that just made me so angry with myself. So I'm dealing with depression, and I'm dealing with hurt and anger, and I was a mess. I was a total and complete mess. And there were friends on Facebook or the game site. No, it's not Facebook. But the lady that I had went to spend time with and a couple other women, we had been like a really tight group before I left. And within a couple of weeks of being home, they all abandoned me. Before I left to go to see him, family and friends here had abandoned me because they felt that I was doing something wrong by going, and thought I might be found dead in his basement. Skinned dead, I don't know. He didn't have a basement, and he wouldn't have done that. At least not then. Maybe now. I made friends with a couple other people online who, one of which has become a very, very good friend and confidant, helped to fill that gap. Because I went from talking to this man every day, sometimes 3-4 times a day, and at night, to nobody. But I got through it with the help of a couple good people, a couple really good people from the same group. And eventually, over time, my friends and family from here apologized. I told them what happened, and they were there for me again. Now, our relationships, except maybe one, have been almost completely mended with the friends and family from here. But the 3 women from the group, one of which I don't hardly speak to at all, and the other 2 I talk to casually during games. So it was a tough year. The first half of this year was really hard. And I was really heartbroken. And I don't know if everybody realized. They thought I think some of them thought I was looking for sympathy, and I was just trying to make it through. But that was then, and this is now, and the man I went to visit and the woman from the dog park, who is now on my game site, and I have to see on a regular basis. As far as I know, they're still together and they're living happily ever after. And I wish them both what they deserve. And if that's happiness, good for them. But I'm not going to say I would cry if, you know, one of them got hurt someday the way I got hurt. Because I wouldn't. But I'm beyond wishing them things I shouldn't wish anybody. So that was my beginning of the year. That went on all the way through spring, April, May, June. July, I really started trying to get it together. Or maybe started to get it together. I'm not sure. I don't know if I tried. I don't remember a lot of the first stuff. Just a lot of crying. So in July, my son has a pool. And it was really hot. And his longtime girlfriend and I had talked about swimming together this year for therapy, because I used to do aqua therapy, but also, hot days. She called me and she said, "Hey, my mom's here. You want to come up? You want to go swimming?" It was during the day and my son was at work. And I said, "Yeah, I do." And I got up there and it was so hot. It was so muggy. And I said, "Well, why don't we sit down for a little bit and then we'll go get in the pool. Let me cool off a minute." She goes, "You want a drink?" I said, "Yeah, I don't drink." Okay. I would not have expected her to bring me out a drink, but she did. And I had a drink. I smoked a joint. Ate a gummy. Had another drink. Smoked another joint. And then her mom and I started doing tequila shots. Needless to say, I got really wasted. Really, really wasted. But I had a really good time, and it's probably the first time that I had a real honest laugh in a long time. Unfortunately, now before I left to go and after coming back, I wasn't using my cane all the time. My walking abilities were increasing. Well, before I left that day, I was very drunk and I fell down and I hurt myself and set myself back. I'm just now getting to where I can walk across the room without my cane again, but not much more. I was supposed to go for x-rays, but that's a whole nother story. Maybe we'll have that another time. But I started feeling better and started planning my trip to New Mexico to see my sisters. So in October, I went to New Mexico on a train. Went right through where I went before. Same trains, same tracks. But I did okay, and I was happy with that. And I had a wonderful time in New Mexico. New Mexico is beautiful. It is so different from the East Coast, though.